Welcome back to Classroom Brew. This is episode 209, and I would be lying if I said I was in a great mood, guys. I thought I would be in a great mood because I somehow landed a PlayStation 5, which is a miracle. But today, the fucking Chicago Cubs, the number one team that I've been a fan of since the beginning. They were the first team I was a fan of before I was introduced to the Bulls and the Blackhawks and the Bears and all that. And they traded everybody away. Anthony Rizzo, the building block of the entire rebuild to make the World Series run, traded him away like it was nothing. Chris Bryant, the ultimate utility man and probably the best player that we had on our roster, traded away like it was nothing. He was crying when they showed the news, when he got the phone call. They showed Rizzo with his family in the outfield. They got rid of Baez. They got rid of, granted, the pitchers like Kimbrel and Chafin. Anyways, point being, 3 major players are gone, and they've basically told the fans we're going to rebuild, and fuck you. So Jed Hoyer and the whole Ricketts family, that's the ownership and the GM/president of baseball operations, fuck you. I'm not going to be able to watch. I had to tell Katie, please don't buy me tickets for the next 5 years. It's too soon. This sucks. We kind of knew it was a possibility, but 3 out of them? 3 people. I thought 2 would be gone, maybe 1 if we're lucky, and you rebuild around that, but no. The Chicago Cubs organization should be ashamed. They have basically said, fuck you to the fan base yet again, and people are still going to support them. But I am pissed. I have cried today. I have cried when I saw that Rizzo was gone. That got me emotional, teary-eyed. When I heard the rumors of Baez and Bryant, I got overwhelmed. And when they went through, basically the past 24 hours, I've cried at least 2 or 3 times, which may sound dramatic. However, the emotional investment in the Cubs, this has been truly too much. So if you know a Cubs fan, check in on them because we're not doing well. Even with the prospects that we got for our players, basically all of our core is gone with the exception of 1 player who still might be gone because we still have 1 more day till the deadline. I'm not in a good place with this. I'm going to have to literally ignore the Cubs for a while. I can't go to Wrigley. I'm not going to go to Wrigleyville. I'm done. I fucking hate Jed Hoyer. I fucking hate the Ricketts family. I hate it. Anyway, the Olympics are going on right now, and my biggest thing, so the hate for Simone Biles, which, by the way, she is being penalized because she's doing difficult things, and the judges are taking off difficulty points because they're like, well, it's Simone Biles, so she could be fine. As if Tom Brady's touchdowns are only worth 4 instead of 6 because he's good. That's fucked up. Or LeBron's layups are only worth 1 because he's so good. That's fucked up. And people are giving her, she dropped out from the team thing for mental health, and people are giving her shit. So that's upsetting. But the big thing I noticed was during a particular, I think it was softball, for sure it was softball. There was a pitcher for Australia who every time she would pitch would scream ow, ow, before, during, and after the pitch, which to me is very distracting. But she wasn't even in the game for that long. But let's just pretend that she was in the game for the entire time. She probably would have more of a sore throat than a sore arm, and she's the pitcher. Of course, if she throws 100 pitches in a game, throat's going to be more sore, much like a teacher at the end of a day within the first week when you're not used to it. So, yeah. I had this funny thought, actually, when I was in elementary school. I remember this. There was this thing where we basically had, at the elementary/middle school that I went to, during the summer, they always had a day where they had a bunch of different games, the clowns that you try to knock down with the thing, and basically the games you would see at Six Flags or Disneyland, in the walkway area. And they would do that every time. And I remember we were going to go to this one year, and I was watching the news for some reason. And I was really young, to be honest with you. And I remember being like, why are you guys relaxed right now and just going to go to whatever the thing was called when a current event was happening? And the event that I thought was happening was the Challenger space shuttle explosion. Now, the Challenger, what year was the space shuttle explosion? That was in The Space-shuttle Challenger blew up in 1983. This was the year, 2001. But I didn't realize it was just the anniversary of. So this was, or maybe it was during the school year, I can't remember. April 4th, 1983. And I guess I was so young and ignorant that I was like, this is happening now because it's on the news. And I had no clue. And I'm sure that my dad looked at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So, I have a question, by the way. Anyone that's a music teacher, I'm going to bring this up a couple times, over the next few episodes just in case. But I remember the songs that we used to sing or whatever. I think I've mentioned this once before, but I've never dove into this deeply. But the songs for those plays, when you have those leveled stands for the kids to, and then they have the 3 microphones in front and you sing as a group. Then a few kids come up and read their memorized lines that are maybe written on their hand. Then they go back and they sing those kind of recital plays that you do in elementary school. I couldn't find, when I looked up some of the lyrics I remembered, I couldn't find those songs anywhere. And it made me think, is there a curriculum for these plays? Are these music teachers, and they probably are they really just this creative that they're writing one play per grade level? I'm sure, over the course of years, you don't, have to worry about it too much. But are these actual things that were written by somebody else? Or, is the Feeding Frenzy song from when I was in, 3rd grade, did anyone else do that in the world? Was there the what was it called? Something Down Under play or whatever, when I think I was a kangaroo that year. I was a shark another year. Oh, I was a sun in kindergarten. And I can't remember what else. But did everyone do those? What, classroombrew@gmail.com or at classroombrew on social media. What kind of plays did you do when you were in elementary school? Maybe I'll post this as a question on Instagram because what was the thing? It was my Miss Varpa or something was my elementary school music teacher, had her from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. Did she come up with all this stuff? I don't remember. What did we do in 5th grade? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But point being, are these experiences unique to each school, or is there some sort of crossover with the assemblies that you do, or the concerts, whatever you call them? They're not quite concerts, I don't know, but they're concerts, So let me know. I'm really wondering this. So, yeah. I ordered something from Best Buy, or not Best Buy, from Dick's Sporting Goods. Why did I say Best Buy? Who knows? And I got it for the team. It was basically just a cleat cleaner, so when there's mud in the things, whatever. And for the 4 weeks after I made that purchase, day 1, Dick's Sporting Goods was like, so how you liking your purchase? Yeah, weird, I'm not going to respond. Day 2, you like these similar products? Kind of weird. Day 3, they're like, hey, check out these deals on items that have nothing to do with what you bought. This is getting really weird. Then day 4, it was like, hey, you really don't want to miss these deals on these items, man. It's getting really weird. And then day 5, it was like, hey, we noticed you looked at these products in your email and you put them in your cart. Maybe, could you? Maybe will you? Come on, homie. That kind of a thing. It was so weird until finally the last week, it's like, are you going to come to our site again? Are you going to buy something? Please. Our retail stores aren't doing well. Amazon's killing everything. And it's like, I bought one item. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Anyways, on Instagram, into teaching related stuff, I asked people how they felt about teachers buying the majority of their school supplies. And we got, it's the beginning of the year. Everything is, teachers, here's a discount at Target for 30% off. That's a big fucking deal, whatever. And I know there's a thing where a lot of teachers in some states are not taxed for purchases if they have their letter just folded up in their pocket or whatever. But I asked people what they thought about teachers having to buy supplies, and it's kind of become a norm. And plenty of people have said, I'm going to have to stop, but let's go into what people actually wrote. So unlimited_rice_pudding wrote, not cool at all, and goes to show how cracked school systems can be sometimes. Of course. Pinchemuka put no like. I'm with you there. What more can I say? Return of Zadai wrote, it's shit. So I'm with you there. Mrs. J. Schwartz wrote, I feel like I've spent a small fortune doing it, and this is my 13th year. Yeah, I mean, let's just say, let's say you only spend $250 per year. But over the course of 13 years, you're spending 3,000 something? Let's see. $3,250 for 13 years. Yeah. And that's something that's not like, you're not getting anything out of that necessarily. It's usually not, it's not for you. If it's like an office supply for your desk, maybe, but that should probably be provided, right? Amy_Lynn0618 wrote, that's some bullshit. And it is. Matt Halpern, who also started a podcast. He's been on the podcast as well. It used to be Halpy, but now it's Matt Halpern Education. He just wrote, no. And that perfectly summarizes it. Czar Smith wrote, it must stop. It is an expectation that needs to end. No other profession does this. I think that's a great, I'm very much in agreement with that. And Rihanna May wrote, I don't mind spending some if it's a specific thing that I want. Specific like pens or paper or whatever. But I try to max at $100 per year. I know a lot of things, it's like you can get reimbursed for something. That's a really big process. I straight up bought a subscription to, what was it called? Quizzes.com, Quizizz. Because I use it for review games, but they made us do the mandated Constitution test. And so to do that digitally for most of the kids that were digital, of course, most of them didn't attend, I had to get this software. And it was like $75 or whatever. And I was like, hey, this is for the purposes of education. It's for the kids. I'm going to do it and do the reimbursement form. And they denied me in like 2 seconds. They're like, nope, it's software. Can't do it. You should have gotten it approved beforehand. Like, fuck you, man. You told me do the Constitution and gave me no way to actually have the kids do it. I find something on my own and build it and take the time for it. And then you say, no. But can you make sure you send those results to us? Also, can you share your software with everybody else now that you've paid for it? Like, hey, teacher, now that you've purchased these things, kind of like the sound equipment for the school. My plan is to leave it there. Like, that's fine. That's yours. I got it for the school for those purposes. But at some point, I'll retire or I'll leave somewhere or I'll leave teaching. We talked about that a little bit in the bonus episode from, what was it, last Tuesday? And so stuff eventually that I've worked hard for, whether it's like renovating a classroom or getting a bunch of technology, eventually my efforts just benefit others. And it's not, and that's fine. That's part of the gig when you do things that you want to last for a while. But it's kind of shitty, right? Like, hey, we're not going to support you through this process to get this done. That's going to help students. That's going to help the staff. That's going to help the school in general. But we're going to take full advantage once you've done all that grunt work. You know what I mean? Like, oh, good fucking luck, teacher. But then once they've done it, they're like, we always knew you could do it. Now, can you tell me how we're going to implement this school-wide so we can take advantage of the great thing that you got for us? As if it's like a given that it's like, well, you got this, maybe even spent your own money. When can we, gimme. That's the school district or the school. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where it's at. If it's something like pens and paper and things like that, obviously, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't do it because we all know a government-funded classroom would be a very minimal classroom. Like you'd have just your chairs. Most of them are probably broken. You would have no borders. You might get some chalk or maybe, well, here's what, you would get chalk, but you would have whiteboard markers or whiteboard boards in your classroom. Dry erase boards. There's the word. Found it. Nailed it. But that's kind of how it goes, right? And needless to say, a lot of people when we were talking about, well, not me, when Target posted something about this, a lot of people really sounded off. And I think it's a topic that a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on because, well, let's be honest, everyone has an opinion on teaching and education because everyone's an expert because they were once a student at their, whatever you want to call it. But I'd like to know what you guys think. If you haven't responded to it, you can still, email me or send it to Instagram at Classroom Brew, because I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are or what you have done in the past. Now, the other thing, this is the most disconcerting one. So this is from the Teachers Union, but it's from the Sun-Times, Chicago Sun-Times. And CPS is supposed to be, or they're poised, that's the actual word they used, to rehire Aramark to clean schools. Even though they said we're not going to, even though the classrooms certainly weren't cleaned in the years leading up to, this year, like absolutely filthy. And even during the pandemic, where they were supposed to be cleaned every day, but deep cleaned on Wednesdays when everybody was remote, regardless if they were hybrid or full remote. So just a whole day where it's just supposed to be, hey, clean these classrooms, deep clean them, because there's a global pandemic. And we would kind of test that a little bit, like maybe leave like a tissue or something like that on a desk. Maybe if your shoes were a little dirty and, not cleaning up the floor a little bit so you can kind of see if it was still there. And most of the time it was still there, but the little placard that went on our door went from dirty to clean. So they weren't doing it. And I'm not trying to say it's easy to do it, but if it's in your job description, do it. If I'm a teacher, the number one thing I gotta do, even when it's really hard, is teach every fucking day. So if you work for Aramark and you're in the kitchen, your number one job is to make the food, and they do that. But if your job is a custodian and you're supposed to deep clean the school, or let's just say clean the school at all, you're supposed to clean the school. I say this and sound like I'm being condescending, but apparently for some people, they actually need that wake-up call, and they need it to be explicitly stated because they seem to not want to do it, even though it's their only and main job description. Yeah. So, needless to say, if custodial staff is listening, I know, granted, great relationship with most of them. Most of them are very hardworking, but I just know I'm talking about the entire district. I've only heard these things. I've had a few experiences, obviously, in the past. At one point, we had substitute people for Aramark that came in because our people were sick or had something going on, whatever it was, and items went missing, like technology items, like we were just talking about, that was often teacher money spent to get it. So I'm not sure what they're thinking. Everyone in the comments was saying that this is not a way to build trust. I don't know why the union's giving into this or why CPS is giving into this. Another broken promise. It's a horrible company. Horrible company, and the schools are going to be filthy again. They've never been clean, really. It says this is the worst company they've ever hired. My office is only cleaned by me, which is fine, but this is not okay for the rest of the building. This company is not the answer. The school should be the school should be having these cleaned by local businesses or building-based. Had a hard time with that one, apparently. And I don't know. There's only like one person that said, yeah, it's fine. They just kind of said like the shoulder shrug emoji. Everybody else is pissed about this. And do I feel one way or another? I guess I've kind of tipped my hand a little bit. I'm not happy about it. I'm not as angry about this as I am about the Cubs saying, fuck it, let's just get rid of everybody. But let's be honest, the school cleanliness thing is truly more important. So I know my room's going to be clean because if there's a glaring issue, I'll take care of it. But this kind of goes hand in hand with we're not getting funding and we're not getting the proper cleaning. And so it's on teachers, yet again, to pick up the slack, which only allows this appeasement. And yes, I said appeasement. It only allows this process to continue and perpetuate and even get worse. More expensive and worse turnout and more responsibility that shouldn't be on teachers, but it is on teachers because we have to be everything. And I don't know. Maybe that's the more cynical version of it. Maybe I'm in a bad mood still because of everything that Jed Hoyer has done to my beloved Chicago Cubs. But that's the view from over here for this episode 209. So I saw this preview for, it's called When Nature Calls, and they somehow got Helen Mirren to be the person to host it or to do the voice, whatever it is. We're going to talk about that next week because, wow, that is truly something. So thank you guys so much, though, for listening to this week's episode. Subscribe to the Patreon. Check us out on Instagram at Classroom Brew. You can email me classroombrew@gmail.com. There is a YouTube channel, but really just listen in. If you want the video episodes, it's on Patreon, but we're available anywhere you get music and podcasts and things like that, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything. Wherever you listen in, that's where we're at. So thanks so much for listening. Go Cubs! I guess we'll focus on the Bulls and the Bears, because it's going to be a rough one. Yeah. So there's no way that they're listening, but to Chris, Bryant, Anthony, Rizzo, And Javier Baez, truly thank you for breaking the curse, and I'm really sorry that Jed Hoyer is an asshole and the Ricketts family are the devil. This has been Classroom Brew. Class dismissed.